Well, hello everyone. The Ontario Gardener here, back with another feature highlight video from Cities Skylines II. Now, we're up to number 6 already. It's been 6 weeks since these have been out, of course. Oh, I guess 5 weeks. So, what we're going to talk about today is going to be electricity and water. And let me tell you something. As we go through this together, there is some stuff in here that makes me very, very excited because, again, Cities Skylines 2 is getting to be, very realistic. It's supposed to be, the most realistic city builder ever made. My words, not theirs, but look at all you have to read. We're going to get into all of this. Look, all of this. And we're going to get into the video right now. As always, let's load this up, do this, turn that there. All right, we're going to watch it together. We're going to watch it together, and of course, I'll pause it as needed, and then we'll go over some of the things that make me really, really, really happy, and maybe things that don't make me happy. We'll find out. Let's go.
To understand the basic needs of your citizens, you need only look in the mirror. Like you and me, there are a few important things they need to live healthy, happy lives.
Just look at this view, though. Again, this is all in-game footage. Solar panels on the roof, little chimney, little satellite dish. Of course, some of them are going to be repeats. Like this one looks very similar to this one. They can't all be different, especially in a normal, realistic town, especially development-type towns. A lot of the houses look the same.
That includes electricity, water, and sanitation. With these systems in place, everyone in your city has a shot at living their best life.
Yes.
Let's take a look at electricity.
Okay, so solar panels are awesome. Now, what it looks like to me is these are your solar panels. These look like, like transformer stations. Some of these things may just be kind of placeholder images. This looks very, very bare, very basic compared to something like this that looks finished. Again, this could just be a placeholder, design. But the way it looks is, I'm not sure if these are transformer stations or if these are like little things you need every so many, because you have a bunch. It must be like 1 per 4 squares, but then once you get over here, there isn't any of that. So I'd imagine these are ploppables. They're not, this isn't just a solar field. I may be wrong, because it'd be cool if you could add on to these.
When laying roads, you also install low-voltage underground cables that supply electricity to homes, offices, and shops.
So, sorry. What is awesome about this is she's gonna get into the most important part in a second, but I love even the visual. You see the lines underneath this bigger road. They look like they're bigger lines. Underneath the road, they're bigger. And then when they go to, like the houses and whatnot, they're smaller. I think that's really, really cool. If you look over here, electricity available, trade. So here they're not doing anything. Battery charge. There is batteries in this game. We'll get into that in a minute. And then the coolest part, I think, is down here. Or one of the coolest part. Electricity consumption. So some bigger buildings draw more power than smaller buildings, which in reality, that's exactly how it goes. So that's super cool. And then also, we're going to get into this in a second. Basically, low voltage, which are the ones under the roads. High voltage are the ones which we'll get into it in another second. And it tells you the flow, and it also will tell you if there's a bottleneck somewhere, which I think is super cool.
These cables plug into transformer stations. Transformer stations are also connected to the high voltage power line.
So if you look how this works, so the old city builder games, City Skylines 1, etc., you dragged these big power lines to the edge of where your zoning would be, and then it would fill in itself. It didn't actually show under road, connections. Because remember, there's also sewer and water under here, which is what this gray and the blue represent. But for here, yellow represents power. But it's so cool because you drag your big transformer poles, like you see out in the real world, going over fields and, miles and miles, going to transformer stations that are near a town. And then that splits off into low voltage power. I think that's so cool how they do it.
Streaming from your city's power plants. They act as a junction where low voltage cables and high voltage lines link up. Together, they form the grid that pumps electricity right across your city. There's one drawback. Power lines and electric cables can only carry so much electricity. When demand increases, they can max out,
So this is I find, again, it adds hyper realism in a sense to a game like a city builder, because in real life, you have brownouts, you have blackouts. Depending on where you live in the world, this may not apply to you, but some places where it's super, super hot for a stretch where you normally don't get a lot of hot weather, air conditioning units in big high rises and people's homes draw so much power it causes brownouts, which typically like a rolling brownout in certain areas of the grid will have a brownout. The power's off, it'll come back, goes off, come out, it causes blackouts, which basically wipes out a whole grid. It's so cool that this is in the game.
A bottleneck. Keep the grid humming by evenly spreading electricity connections around your city.
Now, this is also awesome because in real life, every like little town or little part of town or your part of a general region has its own transformer. It could be little transformer stations. It could be big ones. It all depends on what they're supplying. But even looking at this map here, this view, you can see the high-rise buildings, even like something like a school or whatever this is, draws a lot more power than something like your row homes, which in real life, that's exactly what it does. And I think that's so cool.
You can also build power lines to import electricity from neighboring cities.
That's awesome.
Imported energy will save your bacon if local power plants fail to produce enough electricity.
So one thing real quick here, so it shows like your big high column, high tension lines coming in here from your nuclear plant. But one thing I want to touch on, remember in last episode or maybe 2 episodes ago where we covered like sanitation and you drew the landfill, and it didn't really show any sort of vertical height on that. But look at this though; it actually shows that it's being piled up. So I think that's, as long as that's not a generic like skin texture to it, that they actually, this one looks higher than this one. If they actually get higher and higher and higher until they get full, I think that would be super awesome because that's real life, right?
When demand increases, it will too. Expect spikes when the thermostat drops and everyone dials up their
love
heaters.
this. I love it.
Hot weather will cause spikes too, as people flick on air conditioners, fans, and ice machines.
So, you know how we talked about seasons a few episodes ago? Seasons, like I thought they would just be cosmetic. Are they just going to have snow? I know we talked about like road snow plowing and this and that, but like this is awesome because if weather, depending on, I guess, maybe their map type right there, it shows 40 degrees at the bottom here, the bottom left. And 40 degrees Celsius is like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Like it's very, very hot. So you're going to have rolling brownouts. Just look right here, building color, your battery charge, electricity trade available, and even if you have tons of power that you're producing, if you can't get it to your grid by using transformer stations, you're going to have a bad time.
At the same time. Your power plants might produce more electricity than your city needs. When that happens, you can export it to your neighbors.
Love it.
While this can offset production costs, think it through. By storing excess electricity in emergency battery stations,
I think that's super cool too, because if you have battery stations, what that means is it'll eliminate or it'll slow down having your rolling brownouts and blackouts. Like if because right there it says summer 28 degrees is not that hot yet, but if you know it's going to get hot that year, maybe there's some kind of weather forecast that you could watch. That'd be super cool as well. Then you want to have batteries to store the power so you don't have those rolling brownouts.
You have nothing to worry about when demand rises. Emergency battery stations help your city get the most out of solar power plants. Battery stations power the city at night when the plant isn't producing electricity and recharge when they operate during the day.
Interesting.
Of course, solar is just one renewable energy source.
I love solar. Listen.
You can build wind, water.
So wind power and solar power have always been, at least wind power has always been there. Hydroelectric was something that kind of existed, but it existed, but it never worked properly, in my opinion. Playing City Skylines, you could build like terraform this big like crater, fill it with water, but the water physics, like it just never worked out. So I'm glad to see they're bringing hydroelectric plants back, or at least hydroelectric dams, and I hope that they actually work more realistic than just how they used to work, which I'm pretty sure they have. Also, they're going to touch on the other type of power right now.
And geothermal power plants
That's
too.
awesome.
Fossil fuels are another way to power your city. Or you can go nuclear.
Look how big that is.
Let's talk water and sanitation.
This is awesome.
Surface water sources are the same as in city skylines.
Exactly the
Expect flowing rivers, glittering lakes,
Love it.
and vast swirling oceans.
I can't wait to play on a map like that.
Groundwater is different. These underground reservoirs replenish over time, so they can run dry if they're drained at a faster.
So that is amazingly awesome, because that is, again, more realistic than just pumping water out of a stream. Because you can see here these blue things. I'm pretty sure these are all water pumping plants or whatever you want to call them. And this is what commonly is referred to as an aquifer, or an underground water source, or an aquifer, where you can tap to get water from, but it says there that it depletes, but it also replenishes over time, because remember, there's seasons. So I think there will be rain, there will be snow, maybe you can tie it into a river. And it's interesting that these rivers have these arrows on them, because some are going up, some are, I wonder if that's like shows current or wave height. I don't know what those would be. They're interesting though.
Then they're refilled. They're also susceptible to ground pollution.
Oh, that's bad.
When they're contaminated, dirty water is pumped into your city's
We don't want that. No, bad.
That's bad on every level.
Okay, that looks like greenhouses on that roof, by the way. I don't know if it actually is, though, but that's super cool if it is.
Mainly because decontamination takes a long time.
Oh, yes.
Build a groundwater pumping station to tap this resource, and a water pumping station to bring surface water into your city's water system.
So there it does show that you can bring water in from the rivers, but I guess the idea, I mean, I'm not sure which is cheaper, which is more expensive. That looks like it costs 25,000 coins, and that's a lot in the beginning of the game, depending on what your settings are, or what it draws. But yeah, we'll just continue. It's really cool that you have a source where if you don't have a map with a river, you can still pull water out of the ground, realistically.
You can also add water to the system with wastewater treatment plants.
Okay, so that looks like a bunch of different things that plug into that. I'm not sure, because that one is the spinny things. This one up here, I don't know what that was supposed to be. Maybe it looks like greenhouses or like these domes or biodomes or something, and then this might be the station. So I love how these buildings have either considered add-ons or upgrades to them. I think it'll be super cool.
These plants can process sewage to produce clean water for homes and businesses.
Thank you.
There's another way to manage
here
sewage.
We go.
Sewage outlets. They release waste into open water,
that's bad,
which can help prevent sewage from...
Okay, the arrows definitely show flow then, which I think is super cool, because you can then kind of plan where you want to drain your sewage to.
Backing up. And that's a must when it comes to public health.
Wow, look at that.
Bungling waste management can make people seriously ill.
But dirty
That's
the water
why you
is.
want to keep sewage outlets well away from pumping
Ouch.
Stations. How can you balance the very human needs of citizens with your ambition as a city builder? It's simple. Imagine living your life down there.
Yes.
Day in and day out.
So let's go back here. So basically, electricity and water, also sewer. I think it's super awesome that they're adding more in-depth things as far as how power works. You have your high tension lines, your big power lines that go to a substation. You have to spread them. Maybe there's pictures of that. You have to spread them throughout your city to tie into the lower voltage grid. I think that's super cool. You have wind turbines, water, solar, geothermal. You have batteries that you can... here, actually, there's some of these that they didn't even touch on. Coal power plants, gas, bigger coal power plants. These are fossil fuel ones, which they did touch on. Geothermal, which got to be really expensive. Solar power plant. Maybe it is just a stampable then. Remember, because I said it might not be a stampable, but it looks like it is. Nuclear power, but guess what? I guarantee no pollution though. But it could probably have a meltdown, I'm guessing. Hydroelectric. I just hope these work better than they used to. I'm pretty sure they will. Rapid rivers, steep elevations, build dams, size determines both cost and electricity. So I'm hoping this is fixed from City Skylines 1. Fuel, logistics, power plants, electricity. This is so cool. I love this because it's more realistic. That's the coolest part with all this, is realism. Here we have surface water. We have, wastewater. Like even here, groundwater. It's a new feature. You can pump it, accessible through the groundwater pumping station. Replenish with fields or water level. Groundwater deposits can temporarily dry up if the usage is higher. But it's cool, though, that they eventually will come back. It's also cheaper, probably, right, to use this groundwater. This is stuff we've talked about before or in the old game. Water production, sewage, treatment plants, that's all been discussed before. You have water towers, which are pretty cool. Pumping stations. Here you have water pump. This is advanced stations, sewage outlets. Like in the beginning, when you first start your city, you always just dump stuff into the water because you have no other place to do it. But I think it's going to have a lot bigger impact than it used to. Treatment plants, info. I love all the info buttons and everything. I think it's super cool as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Catch me next time for maps and themes. This is cool. Look at this, though. Brief comparison. Smaller than its necessary, so it's smaller maps, but you can unlock all the tiles, giving you 441 map tiles, and that's per like map, I think, which I think is amazing, by the way. I love starting small, buying different things. I'm going to extend to this island. This is going to be my downtown core island. This is going to be my, bridge island. I think it's cool. I can't wait till we get to climate and seasons. I think this is going to be, it is brand new, and it's going to be super cool for people. And then we have a lot of other things as well. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving me a like as well as a comment. Would be much appreciated. And if you're enjoying these type of videos and you're getting hyped up for October 24th, I think, or October something, hit that subscribe button, tick the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything. Also, in the description below, the Ontario Outdoorsman, if you could be so kind to leave me a subscribe on that channel. My second channel, I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the month. And I'll catch you guys next time.